The sun poured gold over the sleek rooftops of Ikoyi, Lagos, as cars glided past Borderland Road like polished jewels. In the corner of a small auto garage called Tun's Auto Works, a young mechanic wiped his hands on a rag, unaware that fate was about to roll right into his life. Sit tight, dear viewers, because what you're about to hear isn't your typical Lagos love story. This one is filled with secrets, heartbreak, and an unexpected romance that began not in the halls of wealth, but under the hood of a broken car. Ademola Olatunji was no ordinary mechanic. He was the only son of Chief Olatunji, the billionaire owner of Olatunji Motors and Holdings, one of Nigeria's largest automobile empires. But Ademola was tired of the pretense and polished conversations that surrounded his family name. Every woman he met smiled for the money, not the man. So one day he vanished from the spotlight, trading his designer suits for oil-stained overalls and becoming Deli the mechanic. At Tun's Auto Works he found something rare: peace. The hum of engines, the scent of motor oil, and the laughter of real people gave him a kind of freedom money never could. Then, one humid Tuesday morning, she arrived. Her old white Toyota Corolla coughed and wheezed as it rolled into the garage. Behind the wheel sat Stephanie Kalu, tall, graceful, and striking in a quiet, soulful way. Her eyes carried both kindness and pain, like someone who had lived too much in too little time. "Good morning," she said softly, stepping out. "Please, my car. It's been making one strange sound." Deli nodded. "No wala, madam. We go fix 'am." As he worked beneath the hood, he caught sight of a faint bruise near her wrist. Old, fading, but telling a story he didn't dare ask about. Stephanie returned to the garage a week later, smiling shyly as she asked about her car. They talked, laughed a little, and something unspoken passed between them, a spark. She was healing from a broken past. He was hiding from a golden cage. Neither of them knew it yet, but this chance meeting in a quiet corner of Ikoyi would ignite a love strong enough to challenge lies, class, and pride itself. Because sometimes, true love starts where engines stall, under the hood of life itself. Days turned into weeks, and the sound of Stephanie's Corolla became as familiar to the garage as the hum of generators in Lagos traffic. Every time her car pulled in, Deli's heart beat a little faster. He'd pretend to be focused on work, yet every glance at her soft smile disarmed him more than any luxury his old life could buy. Stephanie had a calm presence, gentle but guarded. She often sat on the bench outside the garage, sketching fashion designs in her worn-out notebook while Deli worked. Sometimes she'd bring him chilled zobo or a meat pie from a nearby kiosk. Those small gestures meant more to him than champagne dinners in his father's mansion ever had. But behind her soft laughter there was pain. He saw it in the way she sometimes flinched at loud noises, the way her phone calls left her quiet and withdrawn. One afternoon, while checking her car battery, he noticed her struggling to hold back tears. "You okay, madam?" he asked gently. She hesitated, then exhaled. "I'm fine, Deli. Just tired of fighting life." He smiled softly. "Sometimes life needs small repair too, just like car engine. You go fix 'em small." Her eyes met his, glistening with emotion. "You sound like someone who's seen too much." He chuckled. "Maybe. But at least I sabi fix things." For the first time she laughed, a real, heartfelt laugh that lit up her whole face. It was music in the middle of metal and motor oil. Over time, Stephanie opened up more. She told him about her ex, a powerful man who used his wealth to control her, who turned love into fear. Leaving him had cost her everything: her savings, her peace, her reputation. But she refused to go back. Deli listened, never judging, never probing. And somewhere between those quiet conversations, love began to grow. Steady, simple, and pure. But with every heartbeat, guilt crept in. He was lying, not about his feelings but about who he really was. He wasn't Deli the humble mechanic. He was Ademola Olatunji, the billionaire's heir. And every time she smiled at him, he wondered, would she still smile if she knew the truth? That night, as he watched her car fade into the evening traffic, he whispered to himself, Not true love be this, and I no one lose am. Little did he know, destiny was already tightening its grip, preparing a twist that would test them both. The secret weighed on Delhi like a heavy wrench he couldn't put down. Every day at Tun's Auto Works, he played his role perfectly, fixing cars, laughing with customers, and stealing moments with Stephanie. But behind every smile was the truth he couldn't escape. He was living a lie. At night, back in his small Oberland apartment, he'd stare at the faded photo of his late mother, the only person who ever saw beyond the Olatunji fortune. She used to say, "Son, love doesn't care about class, but lies will always expose themselves." He sighed, knowing her words would soon come true. Meanwhile, Stephanie's business was starting to grow. Her fashion line, simple dresses made from a dyer and chiffon, was attracting attention. She'd started sharing her designs with Delhi, and he'd often help her load fabrics into her car. "You know, Delhi," she said one afternoon, "you talk like someone who's been educated abroad. You sure say you know get another life somewhere." Delhi laughed nervously, scratching his head. "Ah, madam, na YouTube I learn my English." She chuckled, shaking her head. "You're not like other men I've met. You listen, and you care. You remind me that not all men want to break things." Her words pierced his chest. He cared deeply, too deeply. But each compliment only deepened his guilt. Then came the night everything began to unravel. Stephanie had come to deliver clothes to a client at a luxury car exhibition, one hosted by none other than Olatunji Motors. She didn't notice the posters with his face. She didn't know she was walking straight into his world. As she admired the sleek new SUVs on display, her eyes froze. There he was, standing tall in a black suit, cameras flashing around him, shaking hands with the governor. His name echoed through the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ademola Olatunji, CEO of Olatunji Motors and Holdings." Her breath caught. No, it couldn't be. It was him, Delhi. The world spun. The kind mechanic who fixed her car, who made her smile again, was a billionaire heir. The man who said, "I'm just a simple guy," had lied from the start. As reporters swarmed him, Ademola caught sight of her across the crowd. Their eyes met, hers full of betrayal, his full of regret. In that single moment, the walls of truth came crashing down. The man she trusted had hidden everything. And love, once pure and fragile, was now hanging by a single thread. The next few days were a blur of silence, confusion, and heartbreak. Stephanie didn't return to the garage. Her calls went unanswered. Her visits stopped completely. Delhi, no Ademola, felt the sting of losing her more sharply than he had ever felt the burden of his wealth. He tried to explain, but how do you justify a lie built from good intentions? That evening, unable to bear it any longer, he drove to her small apartment in Lekki. The sky was moody, heavy with rain. When she opened the door, she looked at him not with anger, but with quiet disbelief. "Ademola Olatunji," she said softly, her voice trembling. "Or should I say Delhi the mechanic? Which one are you today?" He swallowed hard. "Stephanie, please. Don't." Her eyes glistened. "You lied to me. You made me believe you were one of us. I told you things I've never told anyone, and all that time, you were living a double life." He stepped closer, his voice breaking. "I didn't lie to play games. I was tired of being loved for my father's name. I just wanted someone to see me, not the money, not the fame. Just me." She folded her arms, hurt burning through her calm tone. "And you thought deceiving me was the way to find that?" "I didn't plan to fall in love with you," he said, almost whispering. "But I did. And it scared me, because you saw me for who I was pretending to be, and I didn't want to lose that." Rain began to fall, tapping against the balcony railings. For a moment neither spoke. Only the sound of Lagos thunder filled the silence between them. Finally Stephanie sighed. "You know, Delhi, or whatever your name is, I didn't fall in love with your money. I fell for the man who fixed my car with patience, who listened when I was breaking, the one who treated me like a person, not a project. But now I don't even know if that man was real. He reached for her hand, but she stepped back. Please leave, she whispered. He hesitated, his heart shattering, then turned and walked away, the rain soaking through his designer suit like punishment. As his car disappeared into the wet night, Stephanie closed the door, pressed her back against it, and let the tears fall freely. Outside, the city lights flickered, and both hearts ached under the same storm, one broken by lies, the other by love. 2 months had passed since that stormy night, yet the memory still lingered like the echo of a sad song. The garage felt emptier without Stephanie's soft laughter. Ademola went through his days on autopilot, signing contracts, attending meetings, but never truly present. The empire he had been born to lead now felt hollow. He had returned to the life he once ran from: suits, cameras, and a carefully constructed smile. But in the quiet moments when the world wasn't watching, he'd think of her. He'd picture the way her eyes softened when she talked about her dreams, or how her hands danced over sketches of fabrics. Stephanie, too, tried to move on. Her fashion line, iron and lace, had finally begun to flourish. Orders came in daily, and she was gaining recognition among Lagos socialites. But success couldn't quiet the ache she felt. Every time she saw a car engine, every time she heard someone say, "Delhi," her chest tightened with memories she wished she could erase. One Saturday afternoon, fate intervened. She had been invited to showcase her designs at a charity gala in Ikoyi, an event sponsored, ironically, by Olatunji Motors. She almost declined, but something in her heart whispered, "Go." The hall was grand, filled with the elite of Lagos: politicians, entrepreneurs, and socialites dressed in diamonds and egos. Stephanie stood by her rack of dresses, pretending not to care when she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Your designs are breathtaking," he said softly. Her heart stumbled. He turned. It was him, Ademola, looking every bit the billionaire, yet somehow still the man who once wiped grease from his hands and fixed her car like it was sacred. "Thank you," she replied, her tone calm, though her hands trembled. He nodded, eyes gentle but haunted. "I didn't come to make excuses. I just wanted to say, I'm proud of you, Stephanie. You built something beautiful." She swallowed hard. "And you built an empire of lies." He took the words like a man who knew he deserved them. "You're right. But everything about my love for you was true. The laughter, the late nights, the quiet talks. I'd trade all my billions just to go back to the man who fixed your Corolla." For a moment the world stood still. Tears gathered in her eyes, but she blinked them away. "You can't fix everything, Delhi." He smiled sadly. "I know. But I can try." After the gala, neither of them could forget the encounter. For nights, Stephanie replayed his words in her mind. "I'd trade all my billions just to go back to the man who fixed your Corolla." It was foolish, maybe even reckless, but her heart still believed him. Meanwhile, Ademola was done hiding behind corporate walls. He returned to Tun's Auto Works, determined to rebuild what money couldn't buy. He bought new tools, repaired the roof, and kept the place running. It was the only place where he still felt human. Fate, however, wasn't done testing them. One humid evening, as the city buzzed with impatient horns and distant thunder, a black SUV screeched to a halt outside the garage. 3 men stepped out, and behind them was Chuka, Stephanie's ex-boyfriend. His smirk was sharp, his eyes cold. "So this is where the billionaire plays poor." Chuka sneered, clapping mockingly. "Mechanic by day, liar by night." Ademola wiped his hands calmly, but his jaw tightened. "What do you want, Chuka?" "What's mine?" he hissed. "Stephanie. She thinks she's too good for me now. You think you can hide her behind your fancy name." Before Delhi could respond, Stephanie's car pulled up, right into the chaos. Her eyes widened as she saw Chuka. "What are you doing here?" "You," he growled, stepping toward her. "You embarrassed me, you ran off, now you're parading around with this fraud." Ademola stepped between them, firm and unshaken. "Touch her, and you'll regret it." Chuka laughed darkly. "You. What will you do, mechanic?" But the menacing tone broke when the wail of police sirens cut through the night. Within minutes, officers arrived, summoned by Tund, who had seen everything. Chuka's men scattered, and he was forced into a patrol van, hurling threats as he was taken away. As silence returned, Stephanie turned to Ademola, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Why do you keep doing this?" she whispered. "Why do you keep saving me?" He looked at her, voice trembling. "Because I love you. And I'm done pretending I don't." She stared at him for a long moment, this man who had lied but also fought for her, risked for her. Slowly, she reached out and touched his face. "You're still my mechanic," she said softly. He smiled, eyes wet with relief. "Always." And for the first time, the weight between them began to lift, replaced by something new. Forgiveness. Weeks passed, and the wounds of the past slowly began to heal. The chaos of that night had faded into quiet strength. Chuka was gone, facing charges for assault and intimidation, and Stephanie finally felt free, not just from him but from her fear. Ademola and Stephanie began to rebuild, not with grand gestures or lavish gifts, but with simple, honest moments. He'd visit her fashion studio in Lekki, watching as she pinned bright fabrics to mannequins, her eyes glowing with purpose. Sometimes she'd stop by the garage, handing him lunch in brown paper packs, laughing as she teased, "Billionaire mechanic, a beg no spoil my car again." He'd grin, grease on his hands, love in his eyes. "If he spoil, no excuse to see you again." Ikoyi, with all its glitz and gossip, soon caught wind of their love story. Some called it scandalous, a billionaire heir and a small-time designer. Others called it impossible. But to them it was perfect. They had found truth in a world built on appearances. One sunny afternoon, Ademola surprised her with a new garage sign. The bold letters read, "Iron and Lace Auto and Design." Below it a smaller line, "Where things and hearts are mended." Stephanie's breath caught as she read it. "You combined our worlds," she whispered. He nodded. "Because together we fix everything." Tears welled in her eyes as he knelt, not with diamonds, not with cameras flashing, but with a simple silver ring he had forged himself in secret. "Stephanie Kalu," he said softly, voice thick with emotion, "will you marry me? Not Ademola the heir, not Deli the mechanic. Just me." She smiled through her tears. "I fell in love with all of them." And in that tiny garage in Ikoyi, surrounded by the scent of oil and the hum of engines, love found its forever home. As the sun dipped below the Lagos skyline, they stood hand in hand, proof that even in a world obsessed with status, the heart still chooses its own road. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Nigerian love tales that warm the heart and stir the soul. Until next time, keep believing in real love, because sometimes, the richest hearts are found under the humblest hoods.